morning. Wasn't sure. We had a little spin thing. I didn't know if it was working. Welcome to today's Almost Daily Devotional. We're continuing and looking at stories that teach us about what risk looks like. How do we risk hope? And should hope cost us something? So today we're going to listen to what Jesus has to say in Luke chapter 14. This is the 12th verse. Then Jesus said to the person who had invited him, "When you host a lunch or dinner, don't invite your friends, your brothers and sisters, your relatives, or rich neighbors. If you do, they will invite you in return, and that will be your reward. Instead, when you give a banquet, invite the poor, crippled, lame, and blind, and you will be blessed because they can't repay you. Instead, you will be repaid when the just are resurrected." When one of the dinner guests heard Jesus' remarks, he said to Jesus, "Happy are those who will feast in God's kingdom." Jesus replied, "A certain man hosted a large dinner and invited many people. When it was time for the dinner to begin, he sent his servants to tell the invited guests, 'Come, the dinner is now ready.' One by one, they all began to make excuses." So Jesus at this point he's preparing to go to Jerusalem for the last time, and he is preaching along the way. So he knows what's going to happen. He's preparing himself and his disciples and the people who are listening to him for the last of things, the last moments they have with Jesus. So it's sort of like the last lessons Jesus wants to get in before he has to go to Jerusalem and do all of the things that come along with that adventure to Jerusalem. So these are really important lessons that Jesus wants to teach the disciples. They're highlighting an important aspect of what it means to be a Christian. What does it mean to live as a disciple of Jesus? And in this story, he's just healed on the Sabbath and gotten in trouble for it. The Pharisees catch him healing someone and breaking the Sabbath law. And then he teaches a little lesson about humility and how we should choose the more humble path. And then he tells this story about a dinner party and who we should invite. And the truth is that for most of us, we spend most of our lives surrounded by people who look, think, and act like us. We spend most of our lives talking to people who look, think, and act like us. And some of that's just by happenstance because our family most often will look, think, and act like us, right? But sometimes, it's friends or whatever, we self-select groups that look, think, and act like us. And partly that's because it's what makes us comfortable. And sometimes we just need comfort. We need a place, a soft space to land. We need people whose shoulders we can lean our heads on. But Jesus also reminds us that we should choose at times to be uncomfortable. We should choose at times to invite those who wouldn't normally be sitting at our table. And so, how do we invite in the lame and the blind and the orphan? How do we step out of that comfort zone and into a place where we're uncomfortable, but others might experience the hope that Christ has to offer? If we only ever stay in our bubble, if we only ever stay in the group of people who look, think, and act like us, then we're never going to experience real hope or the real blessing of what it means to reach out with the hand of Christ and to invite someone in to our family, invite someone to our table. And maybe it is literally inviting someone who's hungry to our table, or maybe it's just going the extra mile to talk to that coworker who annoys you at work, or help someone at the grocery store who doesn't know what they're doing, or or to greet them, just to give them a smile. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to be intentional. When we want to offer hope, it requires us to be humble and to acknowledge that we're people and they're people, and there's not that much difference between the two of us. And it requires a generosity of spirit that we're willing to risk being uncomfortable for a little while so that we can reach out our hand to the other. We can reach out our hand and say, "You are welcome at my table. You're welcome here." And that's all Jesus asks. Is there room for the blind and the lame and the orphan at our table?